We're now joined. And how about being able to introduce former Texas Tech quarterback as a college football Hall of Famer with David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and Paul Catalina. Graham, congratulations. What's this feel like for you?
It was exciting. I really had no idea it was coming, or had no idea. I guess I just didn't know the timeline because, every spring it feels like for the last few years I get like notified that I'd been nominated. And I was kind of about to the point where it's like, man, I'm tired of being nominated because the same people take congrats every year. At some point, it's almost like embarrassing, you know what I mean? But I didn't know when the inductions were, so I figured it already passed this year, and probably in April or something, I'd get more notifications about it and have to say thanks to the same people again. And then, yesterday morning, found out I got in this year, and it was a cool moment and an exciting day, and I got to hear from a bunch of people that I haven't heard from in a long time saying congrats, so that was cool too.
Graham, I'll just first start out asking you about the legacy of Mike Leach and what he meant to your career, and a large part of the reason that you're sitting here as a college football Hall of Famer now.
Oh, no question. And, obviously I don't think you can – there's no way to really, really quantify how much Leach was a part of it, And I was actually thinking about it yesterday when something like that happens. You think about things and you think about your college career and you hear from people that you played with or whatever. And obviously Crabtree went in a few years ago, I think, into the College Football Hall of Fame, and he's the guy that played a big role in it. And you just think about how much fun he and I had together and how much success we had together. But I was like you said, I always think if it weren't for Mike Leach, there never would have been like Crabtree and Graham, throwing touches and having some of the memories that we had. His offense made that possible. The way he ran a program made that possible. I think it took Texas Tech to heights that it had never been up until that point. Because, Leach, I guess Texas Tech had always kind of been the stepchild of like the Texas universities. And then Leach forgot that, you know what I mean? And he made it into, he forgot he wasn't supposed to be the big dog and told us we were supposed to win. And so it became an expectation out there. And so, like I said, I don't think you could say enough about what Leach did for my career and what he did for that university. And like without Coach Leach and playing in that offense and then playing out there when he was there, like you said, there's probably no way we'd be having this conversation right now.
Graham, how much does that win over Texas, the play with Crabtree, just what that meant to Texas Tech at the time? I mean, how much has that followed you the last, I hate to say this, but the 15 or so years? We're all getting older. Time flies by, but it's been 15 years since that happened, 16 now, 17 actually, I guess. But just how much has that followed you throughout, and people still bring that up, I'd imagine, constantly for you?
Oh yeah, that's anytime that's the one thing that everyone always remembers, and it's like, oh, you were on that play when y'all beat Texas. Yeah, I was on the play when we beat Texas. And the nice thing for me is like it's a good. I was on the right side of it. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure there's plenty of people. Every now and then I run into what's his name, Gideon, the safeties, the kid that was a safety that dropped the ball the play before on had an opportunity to intercept it. And he probably gets that brought up a lot too, but he's on the wrong side of it. Mm-hmm. And so, thankfully for me, I was on the right side of that. But like you said, that's probably the one play that, if you bring up Texas Tech football, I would assume that any fan and people that aren't even fans of Texas Tech, like, oh, I remember that one time. Remember when Texas Tech beat Texas? Yeah, I actually played in that game, And so, like you said, that's following me around forever. And obviously that was an incredible night and a fun night, but there's so many other memories from those times that, I remember so fondly. It's like, man, I wish you'd remember some of these games. Like my favorite one's probably when we beat A&M at A&M my sophomore year, in a similar situation. But that's the game that always gets remembered. And like I said, thankfully we were on the right end of that one, so I guess I don't mind it too much.
Yeah, you filled in a blank for us because we knew Blake Gideon was involved. We couldn't remember exactly, but yeah, he dropped the ball right before. That's what it was. And then we were trying to remember who was on the play at the sideline that Crabtree broke away from. That was Curtis Brown. So we were you filled that in for us. But you just mentioned, I had the follow-up, which was, I'm sure you probably get tired of hearing about that, as great as it was. It's a great legacy thing and everything, but what is your other favorite things? What do you wish people talked about more? What does stand out to you more than just that moment in time? And you kind of touched on it there, but could you expand and maybe even if there's one or two others that stand out in that way, add those to the mix as well?
Yeah, I think my favorite, the Texas game is obviously an incredible game, an incredible memory. Like I said, it might just be because it's been brought up so much that it's kind of like, it's not even my favorite game anymore. But my favorite one is, like I said, my sophomore year. It was my first Big 12 game I ever played. We were up against A&M. We were at their place, and we were up the whole game and then go down in a very similar fashion with around 2 minutes left in the game. They take the lead for the first time, and Kyle Field's rocking like the loudest it's been all day, and we drive down and throw a touchdown to Robert Johnson through a fade, actually on the right side again. It was he was running down the right sideline through a fade for a touchdown to beat him. And I think I like that one so much, just one, because A&M always bothered me for whatever reason. I disliked A&M more than I disliked Texas, and it was at their place, so you felt like you beat all 100,000 people instead of just the other team. So that was that one is probably my favorite, like, of all the single plays or game winners. Like, that one was fun. And obviously the Insight Bowl game when we came back from, I think we were down 38-7 with, midway through the third quarter. And at the time it was the biggest comeback in the history of bowl games. I don't know if it still is or not. But that was a fun game too. And so that's a memory. And that one I always remember just because, it felt like nothing went right. Everything was as bad as it could be. We're getting booed by our own fans coming off the field at halftime, and you're like, man, this is about as bad as you could ever. This is a miserable feeling. And basically, we go in the locker room, and Leach was like, hey, guys, this is why you came to Texas Tech, because anywhere else in the country, this game's over, but you came to Texas Tech because we're going to win this game. I'm like, yeah, maybe you're right. So then, we kind of get things rolling and come back and win in overtime. That was an incredible game and an incredible memory. And honestly, another great game, and we ended up on the wrong side of it. But my junior year, probably my favorite game from that year was, we played at Oklahoma State and got in just an absolute shootout. And we threw for like 640 yards or something. It's the most yards. It's offensively probably the best game we ever played, and we ended up losing at the end. But it was just a fun, to me, it was like the epitome of a Big 12 football game at the time. Both teams have 800 yards of offense. We lose like 52-48 or something crazy like that. And it was just a blast of a game. It was back and forth, and every time we touched it, we're going to score as fast as humanly possible. And then they are too, but hopefully we score last. And that was an awesome game as well. But there were so many great ones. All three against A&M that we won were fun. We lost to Oklahoma State that junior year, but then my senior year, right after the Texas game, we smacked them when they were a pretty good football team as well. And that was a great one. So, it's hard to narrow them down, but that was just a fun time and a fun time to be a part of Texas Tech football, and got to do it with some great people. Fun people to play with, great friends, and some fun players to play with as well. So it was I don't think I could draw up a better college career than that.
Graham, what's next for you when it comes to coaching? You had that opportunity. It looked like it was about to erupt for you when you were at USC. Then they had the changes, and where you have been most recently, I guess it was Purdue, West Virginia. What is next for you?
We'll figure that out. Hopefully I can stay somewhere here in Texas. That'd be nice. And but that's right now. I'm actually. Well, not at this exact moment, but back at my place in Tyler, so out in East Texas, and enjoying being in East Texas. And like I said, we'll figure out where to go from there.
I was at that house on Jennifer's wedding weekend. They were having all the bridesmaids, and that was a big deal. Brittany and all. But I was there, and it's a beautiful location, man. And what a beautiful view you have behind you at that house.
Oh, I love that home. Yeah, that's my happy place. If somehow I could just be there all the time, that's what I would do. But we got to work at some point, and so I'll get into something. But I'm not shocked you were there. If there's an opportunity to host something, Brittany's going to host it. So.
Yes, she's going to do that.
And I try to get as far away as possible when that happens. So,
Graham, you brought up the A&M games that you played and some of the ones that are forgotten. I'm curious from your perspective because Mike Leach did not like Texas and he did not like A&M, and he especially loved to make fun of A&M. But there seems to be, and he really did throw a little bit of gasoline on the rivalry, which A&M tries to pretend doesn't exist. From your perspective as a Texas Tech Red Raider through and through, is Texas A&M a rival? And are they just embarrassed to admit it because most of the time, the last 15 years that they played, it was Tech and not A&M that won that game?
Absolutely. I mean, at some point, they got to beat us to make it a rivalry, in my opinion.
Oh, my God.
But no, I mean, if you ask me, and I mean, during my time at least, and it might have been just because Coach Leach threw so much shade at them, like they were our number one rival, and it was kind of interesting, I think, at the time, just because the rivalries kind of were kind of weird in the Big 12. Because if you ask, in my opinion, if you ask Texas Tech who's your rival, you say A&M. If you ask A&M to say Texas, if you ask Texas, they might say Oklahoma. You know what I mean? And so like, everyone had the people they couldn't stand for us for whatever reason. And like again, it might have been the way that Leach handled everything. Texas A&M was a team that we disliked the most, and but I think they're also just an easy team to make fun of. You know what I mean? They got their what Leach calls a fake army to walk around and do whatever they do in pregame and do all that stuff. And so they were an easy team to take shots at. And then, like I said, we always beat them, and when I was there, so that even made it more fun to dislike them because, if you beat the team you dislike, then that's a little extra for you. But, yeah, I would definitely say, and it's really, I hate that whole, to me, the worst thing about the Big 12 or that Big 12 breaking up is the rivalries that it did break up. You know what I mean? And I do think it was awesome to see Texas A&M play Texas again this year. And I wish that Tech would still play those schools. And I understand why you don't schedule them as a non-conference game. But, like to me, when A&M left and Tech stopped playing them, that was the end of a great rivalry, at least on the Texas Tech end.
You have a connection from where you live right there outside of Tyler. When you took over with Green Bay, you replaced Matt Flynn, who had been there a couple, and he's, of course, went to Lee High School in Tyler. Did you ever think about that?
So me and Flynn were there at first together, and he was one of my best friends up there. So that's actually how I met my wife, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but she's an Aggie too. So as much as I hate on him, I married one, so I can't. I better be careful. Because after that, my first year at Green Bay, that was the year we actually won the Super Bowl, and Flynn was there, and I rode back to Tyler, or I came back to Texas. Me and Flynn rode together, and I spent some time there in Tyler with Matt and Brad Bergfeld, and ended up meeting my wife through him. So, he's still a friend, and like you said, a good Texas boy that we ran in. I never even met him until I got to Green Bay. So he's a great dude, though.
Graham, congratulations, man. It was great when I saw that name popped out on the list when I got the email yesterday. Thinking about your father, and I know what he's battling. It's not easy right now, but wanted to throw in the name of your father, who was a great football coach, too, for you and the brother. So thanks for your time. Congratulations, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate you talking about, asking about my dad.
Yeah, Graham Harrell, Hall of Fame quarterback out of Texas Tech, went to Ennis High School where his dad was the coach.